Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast, the show presented by Bet365. You can download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Coming back into the show, happy Monday. It's been a lot this weekend. Welcome back to PHLY, presented by Bet365. We've got Jamie Lynch, myself, Renee Washington, and Tyler Zulli coming out of a weekend that was not so great for the Phillies in terms of results. We saw them drop their fourth consecutive series. You lose to a top team in the AL and the Cleveland Guardians. And then, of course, we did get breaking news on breaking news, starting Friday with the acquisition of Austin Hayes, and then Carlos Estevez Saturday that broke as well. Happy Monday, everybody. We've got to get into the other rumors around the trade deadline, which is just over about 30 hours away from now. We're counting down. We're getting closer, so we'll have Jim Salisbury join us to talk through some of the rumors around the league and some other speculation about where guys can land. We've got to preview the series against the Yankees, who now have Jazz Chisholm and the Yankees, and recap a little bit of the weekend. We'll put a bow on the weekend. So I know we've got some of our friends in the chat. You guys are active this morning. Frank Barber, yes. Hello, Darkness. Ray, Frank, Chris, Slummer, Kobe. What's up, everybody? Mickey. Let's get into it. This weekend was not great. Saturday was fun. For many reasons. Saturday was fun. It was the breaking news. It was the Phillies actually won. It was a lot of home runs. We already did our post-game show Friday to be able to recap that mess. That was not fun. And then Sunday, of course, back to a pumpkin for the Phillies, unfortunately. My first thought when you look at the fact that the Phillies have now, after having such a hot start and fantastic start to the season, the Phillies have been struggling as of late, to say the least. And losing games, not being able to score runs, the offensive production's been down. And now they've lost 8 of their last 12, going back to the sweep against the Dodgers, July 9th to the 11th. 3 of those wins were with Tyler Phillips, or 2 of those wins were with Tyler Phillips, excuse me. Can the Phillies only win with Tyler Phillips pitching? Congrats to him on a complete game shutout, of course. Awesome to see. Historic moment, the 21st complete game of the Major League season, the 12th individual shutout. But can we only get a win when we've got Tyler Phillips on the mound?
Yeah, it was. It's apparently written that the stopper of this team is Tyler Phillips, as we all predicted in the beginning of the season. Tyler Phillips is a really cool, incredible story. I was telling my daughter this weekend that, he grew up going to games with his dad, and now he gets to put on the uniform and pitch in front of his friends and family and Phillies faithful. And she was like, wow, he's living his dream. And I was like, yeah. Oh. I was like, yeah, she totally got it and was like, oh, what? So his story is incredible. Definitely one of the bright spots of the weekend. I would say, oddly, one of the down spots of the weekend is only scoring runs off of home runs. I think that's what's killing this team right now and I do think they're going to come out of it. I saw Mickey Durkin in the chat say he's at a panic level 7 out of 10. I'm probably at like a 3-5. I really do think it's just one of these weird points in the season. You're coming out of the All-Star break. The trade deadline's right on you. Whit Merrifield, I know they're like 3-7 since they traded Whit. Some of your guys that you become friends with, maybe on the move, maybe not. People are just on edge a little bit. I think it's just a weird time of the year. I'm not worried, that Bryce Harper and Trey Turner and Kyle Schwarber are going to continue hitting like this for another 2.5 months. So I think it's a downturn. It's a concerning downturn, 4 series in a row, 8 out of 12, like you said. They're not winning that first game. Bryce Harper made mention of that this weekend. So all in all, not ideal. But I think after tomorrow, the roster is finalized. You can't really add or subtract anything else unless you just completely DFA somebody. I look for stability to find its way back to the Phillies locker room probably by the end of this week. I just think it's one of those weird times. And this is the benefit of getting out to a huge lead in baseball is it lets you tinker a little bit like Rob Thompson was doing with like a Soto, and it makes you not panic when you hit these skids.
Definitely. I know in the chat you guys are sharing where you're at in terms of your panic level. Rays at a 4 out of 10. Matt's feeling like a 3. You're at
That's
a
at a
7.
7.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh
He said,
no, that's
drunk?
not good. Honestly, I'm
a 3.5, Matt. 3.5. So slightly above.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like when you look at a team like the Cleveland Guardians, they are top in the AL Central. They are a good team. You didn't lose. Listen, nobody's a bad team. Even right now, I think what's actually helping me through this is when I'm watching the rest of the scoreboards around the league, you are getting the Angels, the A's, the Rockies. Like, it's a flip right now of who's winning games. And there's some hot streaks. I know we talked about it before when you look at the last few outings across the league of who's winning and who's not. And right now, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Braves, they're losing games. You look at some of even the Orioles are 5-5 over the last 10. But you look at some of the quote unquote weaker teams. The Blue Jays are 6-4. The Rays, who just sold their entire team, are 6-4 in the last 10. Teams are finding ways. The A's are 7-3 in their last 10. It's right now, like you mentioned, Jamie, it's kind of like par for the course. You're seeing a lot of, I feel like for many teams, the pitching is down. And it does feel like we're getting some heroics that are more bullpen or late game heroics, a lot of walk-off, a lot of, last, down to the wire games that are being won. It's just the stretch of post All-Star break, teams kind of hitting a bit of a rut. So as we keep trying to say, which I'm trying to lean on, the Phillies are not only have not only set themselves in a nice way, but the Braves also keep losing. So that also helps. And the Braves are losing. The Mets, although they're winning, there's still a nice gap there for that 8.5 game lead against the Braves. So there's a positive is that, again, the Phillies did their work early to allow themselves to kind of like coast a little bit here, but it's not great to continue to drop series when you talk 4 in a row and you talk about every single one of those series you lost game 1. Whereas that's something that's been such a big part of this team. And not to mention, I know as Lisa's mentioning, the Phillies relying on the long ball. That's something that we were all talking about early in the season. We saw bunting. We saw a variety, home runs, singles, doubles, whatever, just finding pockets to spray the ball into. Whereas now it feels like we're back at home run or bust. I know we were talking about it prior to this show. Feels like we're back. It's deja vu. But I do think it's just the team, some of that fatigue. And it's kind of like, I mean, I'm gonna equate it to as a parent when you're like exhausted. So your kid wants to do all this playing and you're like, here, just go. It's like one last ditch effort. I feel like the home run is that last ditch effort of like, I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued, I'm hitting a wall. Let me just try to see if I can make a big play. And the Phillies just got to get back to the little plays, the little things, keeping innings alive, good at bats, making good contact instead of trying to force and maybe do too much at times.
Yeah, I think bad at-bats have been a part of this. Like there was a game recently in the last 4 or 5 days where somebody worked like a 7 or 8 pitch walk, tough at-bat, got on base with 2 outs, and then whoever was up after him, I forget who it was, swung at the first pitch. And it's like that's an instance where maybe you want to work the pitcher and continue working them and kind of, mentally have them wonder like, oh, no, is this it? Am I on the ropes here? So I think there's been some bad at-bats. Do I think Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, these guys are going to continue to come up small with men on base in timely situations forever? No, I don't. And I completely understand the Mickeys of the world who say it's that reason that gives me the panic. I think it's that reason for a lot of people because it's that PTSD from last year's game 6 and 7.
Definitely.
I don't think a failure in the past is necessarily predictive of your future. But I totally understand why we are Philadelphia sports fans. I've been getting tweets for weeks that this is the 64 collapse all over again. I'm trying to Men in Black neuralize myself and just forget about last year a little bit. Obviously you can't do that, but I'm trying because otherwise I might be more at like that 7-8 range with Mickey or Matt. But I do think these guys are going to come around again. There's just a little bit of untimely hitting going on. We kind of talked about that luck aspect last week where other teams are kind of finding those holes in the infield and the Phillies aren't. I hope I'm not putting on my Phillies goggles here and doing the optimistic Sunshine Mary thing. But that's how I feel right now. I think they're all going to come out of it soon. I thought Saturday night might be the turning point. But again, you can't win many baseball games when all you do is produce your runs off of home runs. Theoretically, it sounds nice, but you got to come up with some singles, some doubles. And the most important thing come playoff time to me is 2-out hits. You have to be able to pounce a team with 2-out counts. And, I think they will bounce back. Would rather see it sooner rather than later, because 4 series loss in a row is not too much fun.
No, and that's why it's really hard to continue to be positive as they're dropping games. And now it's not just a game, a series, you're losing series. And obviously when you're watching how they're losing, it is a storyline that we've heard and talked about many times before, of being able to have some of that versatility and unpredictability. And unfortunately also you're dealing with the continued injuries, as we know, with the Ranger Suarez being placed on the IL, dealing with that back soreness still. So that lower back still bothering Ranger. So he's on the 15-day IL. You call it Colby Allard. We saw, of course, Alec Bohm, who after going 0 for 2 with a walk, left the game with a bruised left ankle. Like, this is also the time you're getting injuries. You're getting as you actually mentioned, Jamie, opponents are making adjustments for the Phillies. Opponents are going in on both sides of the ball, making adjustments and improving, adjusting their pitching for the Phillies, but also adjusting their at-bats, attacking the Phillies pitchers a lot quicker, jumping out on them a lot sooner. And so there's a lot of things that need to be tweaked, but they're minor. It's stay healthy. It's, you just made 2 roster moves, get them settled in. If they're possibly going to make another roster move, which we'll, of course, talk more about, especially with Jim, of what else the Phillies might be looking to do since they've got time before Tuesday night's 6 p.m. deadline on July 30th. It's just right now it sucks. It just literally sucks. And that's why I understand the panic, because losing stinks. Losing also makes you always have to question, now it's like, well, what about Johan Rojas? What about this guy? What about that guy? What about Rob Thompson and his decision-making? Like, it just makes you go down this rabbit hole of all these questions that you really shouldn't have. But when you look at the weekend as a whole, there were some positives. Absolutely. And I think we'll try to wrap up the weekend officially with some of those positives. One, again, was Tyler Phillips on Saturday, as you guys talked about with, you and Paige and Skylar. I love these moments of learning, like, this is a storyline that's so remarkable to see. We're all watching it play out. Tyler Phillips is now 3-0, became the first Phillies rookie to throw a shutout since Zach Eflin did it back in 2016. And he's won all 3 of his big league starts. He's been phenomenal for the Phillies. That's been one of the bright spots. You also you got to see some home runs from Bryce, Brandon Marsh, Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber especially, was good to see him get a few home runs this weekend. He's been struggling tremendously. So that was nice to see him get to break through. And even Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos, has been hitting the ball very well. So it's just right now the consistency has not been there, because it has been much more of that home run or bust.
Yeah, and Renee, let me tell you about a little something, because if you think Bryce Harper or Kyle Schwarber is about to get hot, and maybe you think they're back in their home run stride of things, well, you can head over to Bet365. Right now, we're officially partnered with Bet365, and I'm so excited about this. Use code PHLY365 at sign up. A simple $5 lost wager will get you $150 in bonus bets. I took that $150 in bonus bets I received, and I've made some long shot NFL same game parlays. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that on the Phillies money line to win it all, because I'm still believing. But you can use that bonus money right away. And the best thing about Bet365 is they have the fastest payouts in the industry. At certain points in games, if you go up by a certain amount, they'll pay you out live in game. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. They have live streams with 780,000 events each year for you to bet on. Early payout successes across NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting. Today, Bet365 offers the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. And at Bet365, they don't do things ordinary. They believe every sport should be epic. So right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up. Deposit $10 and claim your offer. Whatever the sport, whatever the moments, it's never ordinary at Bet365. With Bet365 baseball early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes up 5 runs. Saturday night, you take the Phillies. As soon as they went up 5-0, you could have gotten paid out live in game with an instant payout. Parlay and same-game parlay selections will be marked as winners. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up and check out our boosts and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And I'm having a good time with Bet365. I think you will too.
All right. Well, I also have fun when I get to enjoy some delicious wings, especially with our friends over at Buffalo Wild Wings. We had a chance to chat with them. I know that we had today for National Wing Day. They were stopping by the office. Some of us are not in the office right now and are missing it. But you can have a chance. Thanks, Jamie. You guys can have a chance to celebrate. It's National Chicken Wing and Buffalo Wild Wings. National Chicken Wing. Wow, words. National Wing Day, guys. You can enjoy 6 free boneless or traditional wings with any $10 purchase. This offer is only valid in stores all day today. Luckily, we're telling you this. It's only, as of this moment, as I'm saying this, 11:16 in the morning, which gives you all day to plan to get over Buffalo Wild Wings. Because all day today, July 29th, you can enjoy their limited deal. They are offering flavors, limited flavors like the Buffalo Ranch and Luau Barbecue. You can download their app and join the Blazing Rewards program. Head over to the sports bar, go to Buffalo Wild Wings, enjoy it today, and have a chance to enjoy some delicious Buffalo Wild Wings for National Chicken Wing Day. We love National Wing Day, guys. We love it. So great to be able to see our friends over at Buffalo Wild Wings and for you guys to be able to enjoy it as well. So sorry if my audio is choppy. Apparently, it didn't want to tell you guys all about National Wing Day. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Damn, I love wings.
I love wings. All right, so
I can eat wings for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Like I don't just give me some wings.
Well, it's never too early to eat some wings, and Buffalo Wild Wings has the best. I love it. I definitely also love it with some blue cheese. I'm not a team ranch.
Oh, I'm a blue cheese.
Put my wings with some blue cheese. Call it a day. All right, so let's recap some last things as we're looking ahead, because obviously we got some trades to talk through with Jim Salisbury when he joined us in a few moments at 11:30. We'll be talking with him. But weekend thoughts, Tyler, let's bring you in because I want to get your thoughts on the weekend and how you're feeling. It wasn't a great weekend, but there were some minor positives. 7 runs scored in an inning. You know, minor positives here and there that we got to see from the Phillies. Thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, I guess I should probably unmute my mic to actually talk to you guys. That would certainly. You think we would do this professionally for a living, but no big deal. Yeah. So you guys brought up Tyler Phillips, and I know, like, jokingly said, you know, the stopper, but I have to give the kid a ton of credit. The poise. I know they talk about it on the broadcast. He just goes out there and balls. And listen, at some point, there's going to be a book on him. At some point, there's going to be a scouting report on him that is, you know, it's going to catch up to him, right? He doesn't have a devastating, or he doesn't have a blow you away fastball. His sweeper's probably his best pitch as of right now. But I have to give the kid a ton of credit. He was poised. He continues to be poised. I know we talked about the Guardians struggling offensively at times this year, where they've been shut out like 6 times in the last, including Tyler Phillips' start. They've been shut out like 6 times in the last like 4 weeks, which is, you know, less than encouraging. But it doesn't matter what professional baseball team you're playing. This is still a good Guardians team that I have to give the kid just a tip of the cap, because he just continues to go out there and you know, prove that he is poised beyond his days. I was going to say poised beyond his years, but poised beyond his days. And he's fearless. He just attacks hitters. So a ton of credit to him. You know, yesterday, unfortunate that you can't jump on and be a little more opportunistic. Solo shot to lead off the bottom of the first. Schwarber comes up later in the game. 2-run shot, you're up 3-0. Colby Allard was dancing with fire pretty much the entirety of the game. If you see his pitch, like his sequencing, like his pitch box, there was a lot of stuff that was middle. There was a lot of stuff that was middle in. He was getting away with some stuff early, pitched well through the first couple of innings, but really kind of danced out of what could have been some danger. The bomb that he gave up to make it 3-3, like, I don't know if you could put on a tee any better. Pretty much middle, in that nitro zone, as they call it. You were kind of short-staffed a little bit, but you had an opportunity to pounce on a young starter making his first start of the season. You get 3 runs early, and you do nothing else with it. We talked about it in the in our little group chat, our Notion thread. Your 2 through 6 hitters went 0 for 18 in this game.
Yeah,
that's not good.
You can't win any games when you go 0 for 18. Schwarber did his part. Allard was fine enough, I guess. Like, it was never going to be Colby Allard was winning this game for you. But you have to put more runs on the board than just two home runs. One a solo shot and the other one a 2-run home run. The offense just wasn't there.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people, again, ready to panic with the loss that was a winnable game. That was something, especially for Sunday. You look at it, definitely a game and even actually Friday, I know we talked about it in our watch along in our post-game show. The Phillies have been making mistakes, or as we talk about 2 through 6 going over on the day, just not showing up in key moments, and you still have had the game at hand where you could still win it and are unable to do so. You look at the Cleveland Guardians. I know I was reading some of the Guardians pieces about just how they've been playing and winning games. They've been heavily relying on their bullpen, and you saw that on display. Of course, it helps when you have someone like Emmanuel Clase. But the Guardians are the best team in the AL, guys. 63 wins. They are the only team with 63 wins. The Orioles and Yankees have 62. Of course, the Phillies get to face the Yankees tonight. Spin cycle, they just lost, although it was the 4th straight series. The Twins are one of the second best team in the AL Central. The Guardians are the best team in the AL right now. That was the 2 top teams in their respective leagues facing off against each other this past weekend. Would you have liked a better showing for the Phillies? Absolutely. You want them to win that game. You want them to at least have a game where if they lose it, it's, the offense is there, the pitching is there, the bullpen showing up. But ultimately, when you look at how they lost right now, I just feel like it's the Phillies beating themselves. This was a team that actually is a very good team. But I feel like all the series that we've seen recently, all 4 consecutive series, the difference between those 4 losses and beating the Dodgers is the fact that the Phillies have had moments that typically we see them step up. And right now, that has not been the case. Kyle Schwarber gets 2 home runs after also getting a homer the day before. He showed up. Then where's the help from there? Who's next? And it does feel like right now, as we've been talking about this by committee, the team being able to help each other step up in moments, team wins, it does feel like right now, unfortunately, you're not getting that. It's been like each game 1 or 2 guys that's playing well, and we're not seeing enough from the rest of the team. So this has never been a team designed to win off of just 1 or 2 guys. It's been everybody stepping up and contributing. Okay, if Tyler Phillips has a great day, who's going to help him on the offensive side? Bryce, Brandon Marsh, Kyle Schwarber, delivered. Nick Castellanos, Sunday, who's next? And it's just been inconsistent, which is hard, which makes you want to panic because it does feel a lot like the NLCS all over again versus what we've been seeing at the start of the season of like building off that momentum, building off that energy, and it contributing to the very next day's results versus like you get a great day Saturday, you come out Sunday and you look a little bit flat again as the game progresses.
Yeah, part of what made them great early on was they didn't rely on the long ball to get their runs. Alec Bohm was a doubles machine, and guys were coming up, whether it was Edmundo Sosa or Clemens. There were some home runs. Don't get me wrong; they're a top 10 home run team in Major League Baseball, but they were contributing to the score sheet, not through home runs all the time. And it seems like lately that's kind of all they got. The Guardians are a good team, but we went over their stats the last 3 weeks. They're a low-scoring offensive good team now. So, a couple of these games, 4 or 5 runs gets it done for you, and they just weren't able to do that. So, again, I'm not too worried. I think they all just kind of hit a funk at once. I'm almost, and this might be a loser's mentality here, I'm almost giving them until after the trade deadline, until that roster is completed. A veteran bunch. These guys all know what's on the table here. And I think when a guy like Witt, although he was only a 1-year deal, gets moved, some of those guys, whether it be, a Brandon Marsh or Johan Rojas, most of the other guys are kind of locked in. Bryson Stott, there's probably a little bit of an uneasiness that goes over the clubhouse during this time of the year. And then Sir Anthony, another homegrown guy that they all probably love and have been with for many years. He's out the door, and there's probably an awkwardness to it. So I'm almost going to give him till tomorrow night before my worry meter goes up. I think after tomorrow night, there's kind of a collective deep breath in there. And we can talk to Jim Salisbury about this too, who's coming up shortly. I think there's just, I think it's just a weird time of the year. You come out of the All-Star break and your roster can change a lot. And the MLB trade deadline is just about 30 hours away. And, I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but I think when they're this savvy a veteran club, there's a little bit of turmoil at trade deadline time.
I do agree. That's a great point, Jamie, because before the All-Star break, it felt like it was the All-Star break. Yeah. And I know we were saying, well, it was the London series. Let's backtrack. It was the London series, and we were saying, the London series is strictly an exhibition games. It's strictly an opportunity to just grow the league, grow the fan base. Then they came back, and it was the hangover of the travel and jet lag and changing all those time zones, 18 different time zones in 17 days. And then after that, it was, okay, it's the All-Star break coming up. You've got all these All-Stars. You're hitting a wall. You need some time to rest in your group. And then now it absolutely is a trade deadline. These are major moments in the season that do contribute to guys maybe overthinking a little bit more, maybe changing how they're playing, maybe worrying a little bit more because, as you mentioned, you're losing teammates, but you're also wondering, am I leaving? Am I next? Do I have to worry about my position? They are ultimately fighting for a job, fighting for a spot. And at the end of the day, you don't fully ever feel safe in sports. I was watching the Cubs game, trades happening mid-game. In the middle of the game, Merle's leaving the dugout, saying goodbye. Like, it happens all the time. You don't know. Yeah, you have no idea when it's going to happen. And so there is some of that pressure. So that's a great point. And I do feel like after the trade deadline, it gives them a chance to settle in with whatever. Whatever.
You look around and you go, all right, boys, here it is. This is our Red October team. Let's go. Everybody on deck, everybody on board, and it's time to get serious.
It is time to get serious, unless you want to have some snacks, because you don't need to be serious when it comes time to snack.
No, that's the absolute most serious time, Renee.
Oh, yeah. Let's be serious about some snacks here with our friends at Rite Aid. They've got the Elo Market. It is a line that includes candy, snacks, and all pantry items at Rite Aid. Bet you didn't know about the Elo Market. Well, now you do. Exclusively at Rite Aid, they've got a ton of different products there. They've got candy. We love the classics. Peach rings, the Starlight Mints, gummy butterflies, sour worms. They also have nuts and trail mixes that are packed with those vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, fiber, and protein that you need, as well as some delicious buttery, sweet and salty cheddar for those of you that like cheddar popcorn or sea salt popcorn. They've got all the different flavors of popcorn. I don't really like cheddar popcorn, as you guys know. They've got some beef jerky packed with protein, granola that features whole grains, and of course the pantry staples like honey and seasonings that you need to sprinkle on your snacks. So if you're ready for a little snack attack or you like some late night snacking, get some Elo Market delivered. Same day, you can take advantage of getting it delivered to your house right now. You can buy it online. You can pick it up in store. And Rite Aid, which has their exclusive Elo Market, you can also go to riteaid.com/shop to order today. So Rite Aid has all the things you need for that snack attack, for that delicious opportunity to take advantage of some candy, some snacks, some pantry items today at Elo Market. When you shop online, in store, or again, take advantage of that same day delivery and convenience with our friends over at Rite Aid.
Now let me take you the opportunity to tell you about what happened here in my hotel room last night. In the 21 years of being with my wife, she said it was the absolute worst snoring she's ever heard from me. Not a great feeling to wake up and have your wife ticked off at you, who in the middle of the night abandoned me and my daughter and went down to her mom's room and slept with my other daughter and her mother to get away from me because my snoring was so out of control. Now, this isn't a regular thing for me, but it does happen from time to time. So once she hears about Dr. Andy Cohen, Dr. Andrew Cohen in Jenkintown, she's going to say, Jamie, get your ass over to Sleep Healthy PA. Because Sleep Healthy PA is at the forefront of the game. Come from snoring issues. You need your sleep. You need your health to run an effective family. And I am not contributing to a effective, happy family with my wife cranky and miserable because of my snoring. So Dr. Andrew Cohen is one of the leading state-of-the-art snore doctors in the country. And what he does is use the dental issues. When you go in, you'll get it's a 2-part series. So you can call them. They're in Jenkintown, 215-572-7566, or you can visit sleephealthypa.com. And what they're going to do is have a consult with you where they monitor your sleeping habits and your snoring issues. And then they're going to have a second meeting where they talk about a procedure or plan going forward to help correct the snoring issues. So make sure you're thinking Sleep Healthy PA when you're thinking about your snoring issues. And if my wife is watching the show right now, she's probably making an appointment for me because that's how miserable I was last night. Jenkintown, PA, Sleep Healthy PA, 215-572-7566, or go to sleephealthypa.com to check it out.
All right. I knew you were going to say Andy Cohen. But listen, in the chat, I know you guys are.
It was a rough night last night.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds like the roughness is continuing their audio. I hear you guys fine. I'm not quite sure what's going on with our friends in the chat. Sorry if you're having some audio issues hearing us, or if we're having audio issues, whatever it may be. But okay, we have to get into some updates though, because despite all the results, there's some bigger things going on around the league right now because the trade deadline is coming up. Officially 6 p.m., July 30th, that we will be able to have the final of the final, where teams know who they're rocking and rolling with to head into the final stretch of the season. And so we've been hearing all the speculation and the rumors. So now let's bring in our buddy who is going to be able to give us some insight on his thoughts. Jim, welcome in, Jim Salisbury, because listen, I know we want to talk a lot about the recent results for the Phillies, but bigger picture, trade deadline, trades that have happened. Of course, the Phillies made a couple major trades of their own. I'm going to start with the one that we saw Saturday, though. Are you surprised at all, Carlos Estevez, in that trade? Any surprises for you by that move to move two prospects who have been pitching very well to be able to bring in a Carlos Estevez as they lost George Klassen and Sam Aldeguerre? What were your thoughts on the price of that move? Some people didn't like it, some didn't, but I'd love to get your thoughts on good or bad deal.
You can't judge a trade overnight, but if they win the World Series, nobody's going to be complaining about what they gave up, especially if Estevez contributes like everybody thinks he can. He's pretty much been the best closer in the American League, one of the best closers in the American League, probably the best one out there. Miller was out there from Oakland, but who knows if he's going to get moved. But you're certainly talking about a tested, very good closer, having an excellent year. I think he was the reliever of the month in the American League last month maybe. So, yeah, a little bit of a high price. Klassen was a guy I thought all along could be moved because just if you kind of look at his history, big arm, big velocity, had a lot of control issues, but, a lot of it's starting to come together now. And, if it continues to come together, you might have something pretty good. But he's mostly just a two-pitch guy, kind of profiles as a reliever. There's still a good bit of development curve there. There's uncertainty there. I think maybe you try to capitalize on the pluses he's shown this year and see what you can do. And if he continues to put it together, Anaheim will have a good one. Aldeguerre, another nice prospect. These, guys who, and I have to caution these prospect rankings, they're opinions. They're the opinions of the people doing them. A lot of people thought these guys were top 10 guys, maybe not coming into the seasons, but certainly pitched their way there this year. A lot of promise, and I hope it comes together for both of them. But it wouldn't have stopped me from going out and getting a guy that you think can really shore up the end of your bullpen. This is a team with World Series aspirations, and that might even be like understating. This is a team that needs to win the World Series. So to me, maybe a little bit of an overpay when you look at maybe the potential ceilings of these guys, but with what you have at stake at the big league level, and that's why the minor leagues exist. That's why the organization exists. That's why that stadium exists. That's why the whole franchise exists, to win championships at the big league level. I think Estevez is a guy that can help you. So I think it potentially could be a very good deal for this team, and it's one I would have made. And I think you did kind of preserve your elite guys, your elite prospects. You preserve them. These guys, very good prospects. I'm not trying to diminish what they are, but probably more second tier guys. So, again, it takes a while to judge a trade, but a day, 2 after it's made, I like it.
So, Jim, I was just curious. I was going to ask you about Estevez's role here, but I'm curious. Now the Angels and Dave Dombrowski, there's been a little bit of a trade pipeline going on here between them, dating back with Marsh and O'Hoppe and Noah Syndergaard. Does that happen because the GMs have a very good working relationship, or does that happen in large part because maybe the Angels and Phillies scout guys on a similar model or system? How does that trade pipeline kind of open up there?
Yeah, I think it happens because they're two teams at opposite ends of the winning curve, the winning spectrum. You have the Phillies, who starting in 2022 when they made those trades, the Marsh and the Syndergaard and the O'Hoppe and others, Moniak. The Angels were down, kind of rebuilding, whatever you want to call it. And the Phillies were up here going for a championship. So oftentimes, the team that is building becomes kind of bedfellows with the team that is going for it in a championship mode. And that's where I think that's more what we're seeing here. I don't think it's any shared values about players and how to develop them and how to scout them. To be honest with you, the Phillies, the Angels, every team, they scout everybody. Scouting is very, very sophisticated. They're in-person scouts putting eyeballs on people, watching every move they make from day one of their first spring training game until right through the end of the season. And nowadays, scouting has become so sophisticated where you have a whole group of scouts or analysts that just dig in on the numbers and analyze players, what they see in the numbers, and a whole nother group who just dig in on what they see on video. So there's so many different ways to build a picture of a player that you might want to acquire. I just think the fact that they've been frequent trade partners here is just completely reflective of where the two organizations are. A team that's going for it, a team that's just not there yet, and it does them really not a lot of good to hang on to veteran guys, move them for young players that might be able to help you. And then who knows, someday the Angels might be up here and the Phillies are down here, and they're still trade partners because they're at different ends. I mean, you remember when the Phillies were making all those trades with Houston. Ruben Amaro was making all those trades with Ed Wade. Oh, Ed Wade, he worked for the Phillies GM. Ruben worked for him. Okay, of course there was a chemistry between the two guys, but the Astros were told to shed every bit of payroll they could, and the Phillies were taking on payroll trying to go for a championship. And it just so happened that they were at opposite ends of the winning curve, and they became, kind of logical trade partners. I don't think there was anything that had to do with anything sneaky there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, for the right-handed reliever, Carlos Estevez at 31, he is ready now. He can help the team right now, and having gone 20 for 23 in save opportunities since May 20th. He's third across league in WHIP, a great addition for the Phillies with his 2.38 ERA coming in his 34 appearances for the Angels versus the Sam Aldeguerri, who we actually had a chance to chat with. Seems like a great guy. Same with George Klassen. They're developing well, but they're still prospects. They're not ready now to help this club like Carlos can do. So another guy that was brought in, though, on Friday, Austin Hayes, in that trade for Anthony Dominguez and Christian Pache. And as you mentioned, Jim, that's two trades where you were able to protect your top prospects. You move some pieces that, it's always hard to say goodbye, but you move some pieces. Somebody's got to go that allow you to bring in some others that can help. And for Austin Hayes, I know there's been a lot of talk about his work rate, maybe his play also just being better than what his numbers show this season because of his injuries. But looking at like last season's numbers and him having that all-star 2023 season where he was top in his career numbers statistically, Austin Hayes coming in with the outfield setup. In your opinion, is he going to be an everyday left fielder? I know it seems like Dave Dombrowski's mentioned they've been very interested in Hayes over the last few years, just haven't been able to make that deal happen. But now that they've locked him in and he's a Philly, what do you feel like the outfield makeup is going to be with Austin Hayes, Brandon Marsh, Johan Rojas? What do you predict?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of, go by what Rob Thompson has said. I think when the trade was first made and they were pursuing a right-handed bat to kind of pair with, Brandon Marsh, have a guy who can hit righties and a guy who can hit lefties. That seemed like it would be the logical, roadmap they would take. But judging by what Rob Thompson has said the last few days, he wants to give Hayes a little run out there in left field and see what he can do. And, maybe he takes and hits righties and hits lefties very well, doesn't hit righties nearly as well, but maybe a little more playing time in that regard will help level things out. Maybe getting into Citizens Bank Park, away from that big cavernous left field at Camden Yards after they made the adjustment to the wall, which obviously hurt him a little bit. So it looks like he's going to get some run out there and see if he can solidify the job. I mean, you have to kind of judge it by action. Marsh doesn't really hit lefties. They're concerned about him hitting lefties. It's right there in black and white on the stat sheet. Well, he started Sunday against the lefty. So I think they want to give him a few more reps there out in center field, Marsh, to see if maybe he can hit some lefties. And if not, maybe the platoon is there in center field with Rojas. If Marsh comes alive against lefties and hits righties like they think he can, maybe he's the bulk guy in center field and Rojas moves into more of the backup or Christian Pache role. So I think it's all in flux here, but I think it's fair to say we thought maybe they were pursuing a left field platoon. Well, I think Austin Hayes, now judging by Rob Thompson's words and his action, Austin Hayes is going to get a chance to nail down that job. The old saying, if you hit, they'll find a place for you. If he hits, they'll find a place for him. If Brandon Marsh hits, they will find a place for him. But that's kind of what they're looking at right now. And then if it doesn't work, they could go to the left field platoon. A lot of balls in the air right here, but Hayes is going to get a shot in left field. It looks like Marsh is going to get a few more shots in center field.
Yeah, so Jim, shifting gears, we're approximately 30 hours away from the 6 p.m. deadline tomorrow night. I know with Todd and Ruben, you acknowledge that the Phillies, they keep an eye on everything, obviously, but they are keeping an eye on the Garrett Crochet market. Yeah. Right before the show here, John Heyman tweeted out that the Braves are interested in Crochet as well, which makes a lot of sense because he's only making $800,000. Should we as Phillies fans expect maybe a lower level move? Obviously, if the price is right, you can dive in another market. Do you anticipate the Phillies are done, or do you see them still being active here with 30 hours remaining?
Well, I'll tell you what, they are active. Dave Dombrowski and his, lieutenants, his war room, his cabinet, whatever you want to call it, they're going to be active, right till 5:59 on Tuesday. They're going to be turning over every leaf they can, every stone, and see what they can find and what they can do. That's just Dave Dombrowski's nature. He's very aggressive, especially when he smells a championship. And come on, we all smell a championship.
Sure.
Ownership wants one. I think ownership mandates that he be aggressive, because they've spent a lot of money on this team, and we all know the star level talent they have, and they're all in their prime. They're not getting any younger. You got to win one here sooner or later. I do think they are continuing to monitor the pitching market. I'll say pitching market because a guy like Crochet could be a starter, could be a reliever. I know there's that whole innings workload thing, which would have to be dealt with, and I don't know how that would go, but I believe the Phillies are interested bystanders there in the Crochet market. See where it goes, see if they can get in it, see if the price comes down. The price has to be high for a guy like that. You got a young GM out in Chicago looking to make a score on some big talent to advance his rebuild, but I think if the price comes down, and I'm sure they're monitoring it, they would have some interest there. I think it might be reflective of where they are with Ranger Suarez. They have an important piece of their rotation on the IL. Everything you hear, it's not that serious. He'll be back when his 10 days is up, or when his IL stint is up, but you never know. So I think any smart front office is going to monitor that and see what happens and see if they can get in it. They still have not. They've protected pretty much all of their elite prospects.
So I was going to ask you,
it would probably take one to get a guy like that. Would they be willing to do that? I don't know, but they are still watching that pitching market, and Crochet is one of the gems on it. He could make sense, in a lot of areas if they can deal with that innings limit. So
Jim, do you think he's one of the gems because he has bullpen and starting capabilities, or do you think they might look at starters just as much?
Well, I think he's probably one of the gems, and I'm talking industry-wide.
Sure.
Because he's really good, and he's former first round.
That helps.
He's former first-round pick. I mean, he leads the American League in strikeouts. He's got a couple of years of control left. He's still young, come back healthy from the injury. So there's a lot of reasons why, but certainly the fact that look, if these concerns about the inning limits are real, and the fact that they might his agents or himself even might think of shutting down, it would probably have to go to the bullpen just to protect his workload and to keep him active through the end of the season. So if you could come up with a way to figure all that out, he might be an interesting fit, but he's going to cost you. So I don't know if the Phillies are willing to pay that price, but he's a guy they along with others that they are keeping their eye on right until the end of the deadline. So I would say it's probably a long shot, but I do think they're still looking for pitching upgrades, be it in the bullpen or in the rotation. Because if Ranger comes back, you could always use Ranger if and when Ranger comes back. I should say he'll be back. You could, if you had any concerns about him, he's got bullpen experience, so that gives you options. Sure. So I really believe they're still out there looking for arms. Not sure they're going to get one, but you're an elite team, best record in the majors. You have World Series aspirations. You have a farm system. You have a committed ownership group that will make financial commitments. And not that Crochet is a lot of money right now. Why not focus on the elite guys that are out there, Crochet and others? So Phillies still active in interest and pursuit and trying to get things done. Not sure if they'll get anything done, but definitely they have interest on a number of fronts. They might not be done.
Yeah, and a farm system that you still have options there if you need to, as you mentioned, make a deal that you have in your back pocket. It is interesting though, Jim, because with how well this team has been playing, we haven't even really been looking at the starting pitching as an area that they should look to upgrade until recently.
Right.
Recent injuries and just the fact it's such a long season, and you have guys like Ranger and even in the bullpen guys like Jose that are hitting their career tops of innings pitched. And so it does make you have to wonder, how prepared is this pitching staff, especially the bullpen? With the addition of Carlos Estevez, do you feel like this bullpen really stacks up? I know they had projections of being the best across Major League Baseball, when we were back in spring training. But do you feel like this bullpen is strong enough, good enough, and even just stacks up as one of the best, not only for this season, but maybe that we've seen for the Phillies in a while? When you look back over the decades to like 2008 and different bullpens, have you felt more comfortable since that move with Carlos, or do you feel like there's still, one piece away from truly solidifying this bullpen?
Well, I would answer that by saying it comes down to performance. We see bullpens are up and down all the time.
Yeah.
These guys have struggled since the break. No question. They've struggled throwing strikes, and they've been hit hard. But that could change tomorrow. Momentum and confidence is so important in the bullpen. So I still like the talent out there. I like the bullpen even more now with Estevez. He's a strike thrower. He's got experience. He throws hard. He wants to be here. He wants to play for a winner. I mean, I like the addition a lot, but it's also, I've said this a number of times with you guys. If they're going to win the World Series, they're going to win it with the guys who have been here all year long. The studs in their rotation, the talent in their bullpen, the studs in their lineup. Those are the guys that have to perform and play well, including the offense needs to pick it up from what we've seen recently. I mean, you look back to that Milwaukee sweep, everybody's going crazy at Citizens Bank Park. Phillies were on top of the world. I know it was only early June, but they sweep Milwaukee. They're a 500 team since then. They're 21-21. And that's the guys that are here. So they need more performance from the guys that are here. They need Hayes. They need Estevez, whoever comes in before the deadline. to chip in. I like the potential of the bullpen. We've seen it pretty much for half a year. They can be really good. They can be really good again. Estevez will help. If somebody else comes in, they shift around some bodies. They can get help from then. You mentioned that 08 bullpen. That was a great one. This bullpen, I think, has more firepower, more pure velo stuff. I mean, but, that bullpen, you had a guy that went 48 for 48 and saved chances. You had Ryan Madsen and JC Romero. Look at their numbers sometime, like in September and in August.
Chad Durbin and Scott Air, they were great.
Scott Air was a great pickup, marginal pickup. So, I talk about performances. Those are guys who performed. And maybe with the exception of Madsen, who really had the firepower in that bullpen of any of these guys, but they pitched, they located, they had momentum. I think of Madsen all the time. He developed confidence and momentum, and what a September he had, and what an October he had. So this bullpen is loaded with potential. It's loaded with firepower. That bullpen performed. This bullpen has performed mostly very well for half a season. A little bit of a blip here, but like I said, bullpens are very mercurial. They could get it together starting tonight. They do need to get it together at some point because you need to get hot hands going into October. But so does the offense need to come alive, and they need Ranger to come back healthy. I don't know where he's going to contribute, but they need contribution from Ranger again, be it in the rotation, maybe it's in the bullpen. Lot of things in flux, but certainly. I think Rangers' injury has them having their eyes open to more pitching.
All right, Jim, a couple big names remain on the trade deadline. Last one for you. Let's just rapid fire gut reaction. Do they get moved? And if so, where do they go? Jack Flaherty.
I would say the Tigers would probably try to capitalize on that one. Not sure where. Maybe back to Baltimore. Would Baltimore do it again? I don't know. Maybe Atlanta. Would Atlanta do it?
They're certainly looking for something.
Yeah,
I've heard. His name's been connected to the Phillies. It's funny, and I'm not just saying this. I kind of liked him in the offseason because I've seen him pitch a lot of games for St. Louis when he was healthy. I thought he would have been an interesting take a chance on candidate, and the Tigers did it, and they might end up getting something pretty good for him. So I would guess he'll probably move.
All right, does Tarek Skubal get moved to the Baltimore Orioles? They got the prospect.
They'd have to give up a mother load to get. He's awfully good, left-hander. Power stuff, great stuff. He might be young enough that if I'm the Tigers, I got to be blown away on that one because I think I could maybe keep him and build a little bit around him.
Blake Snell, the Yankees, who the Phillies have right now, apparently are kicking the tires on old Blake Snell with his year and a half remaining. Does he get moved? And what do you think with the Yanks?
I think there's a good chance he might get moved. But the Yankees certainly they could use him. It'd be certainly an interesting pickup. I guess you just hope he doesn't show up during this series.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one, the crown jewel of my MLB trade deadline.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, does a Luis Robert get moved? And what's your prediction there?
They've just like Crochet, they have set a really high price on him. I guess the question is, are they better off moving him in the offseason? But having him for an extra October is quite valuable. Seattle still needs offense.
Ooh.
So maybe something like that. I would say, that young GM Chris Getz is under a lot of pressure. He's got chips. He's got a barren system. He needs to get players for him. That's why I think if he makes those two deals, probably go down to the end. I'll say Luis Robert does get traded and goes somewhere other than red pinstripes and it breaks your heart.
Yeah, that's all right. I've already accepted it.
But who knows? I mean, I this is all crystal ball stuff, and there's so much the trade deadline. There's so much junk out there. And the biggest challenge is kind of sifting through the good stuff and the bad stuff and kind of seeing where it's going to go. But
you saying Seattle there, Jim, has me thinking Randy Arozarena, Julio Rodriguez, and Luis Robert in an outfield. That is a big bopping outfield, man.
And they might be done with Arozarena, who knows? But there was in such an offense deficit. They, maybe I'm sure they talked about him beforehand. Where do you think he's going to go?
I don't know. I think he's got to get moved after all this. Seattle, I hadn't thought of. I don't really know if there's a clear destination for him. To your point, does Atlanta think about moving on from Michael Harris and getting the mix? I mean, I don't know.
Well, we're gonna find out soon enough.
It's fun. It's fun.
I think it's fun.
Yeah, MLB trade deadline's always fun. And Jim, last one. I know I said that before. Is there a sense of, you've been around baseball clubhouses forever? Is the trade deadline a really uneasy week leading up to tomorrow night at 6:00? Are some guys on edge? Or is there a sense of losing a friend type of thing?
I think it's more the guys who are seeing their names in rumors, kind of the guy that maybe is not really established or the guy that's trying to establish himself. I think that could create some anxiety. I mean, you're only human if it doesn't. More established guys probably not. The veteran player who's been successful and been a producer and is on a bad team, he might be resigned to the fact that it's going to happen. I think they can deal with it pretty good. I hear what you're saying about losing a teammate, losing a friend, and I've talked to guys about that over the years. They can keep in touch, by email and text and cell phones.
Jeff Hoffman and Estevez play Call of Duty nightly.
Yeah, so. they can go on vacation together in the off season. They can play golf together. They all live in Arizona and Florida, and they can hook up with each other on ski weekends.
Yeah,
I don't put a lot of stock into that. I think if you're a veteran player, and if you're a player, period, and you're trying to win a championship. And you can make an upgrade and get a really good player to help you win a championship. And it means saying goodbye to your best buddy. It's like, hey, I'll catch up with you in the offseason. We're trying to win a championship.
I'll see you at the parade.
Just win this World Series first, and then we'll catch up over Call of Duty.
They all understand the business of it. And the friendship aspect, your friendship doesn't die when you're traded. You just don't see the guy every day. Guys want to win. Especially in that Phillies clubhouse. They got a lot of veterans in that clubhouse who are, creeping over 30, 31, Schwarber's got a ring, but a bunch of those other guys don't have a ring and they want one really bad. So they're not going to bat their eyelashes if Dave Dombrowski trades, an A-ball prospect who might be 3 or 4 years away. They're not going to bat their eyelash if he trades their best buddy. They want that ring. And right now, I think they've made a couple pretty good deals and keep our eyes out, see if they make another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to mention, that friendship, I think, will take a big hit if that friend is keeping you from winning a World Series. If you are losing a game because of your friend, it's like, okay, friend.
Not even keeping you from winning a World Series, but maybe the guy they bring in is a marginal upgrade. He maybe inches you along. So it's about championships, man. It's big business, and they can deal with it. They're big boys.
Yeah, exactly. They're pros. All right, Jim, as always, appreciate you taking time to jump on with us and weigh in and talk through the rumors, the Phillies, and some possibilities ahead of the trade deadline because it's coming up quickly, 6 p.m. Tuesday night. So, Jim, great work as always. We appreciate you, buddy, and we look forward to catching up with you more in the future.
It's my pleasure, and you guys have a great day.
You too, Jim.
See you as well. Hopefully
really enjoyed that conversation.
I know, and hopefully, this gives some clarity on some things. I know Jim's got some great insight.
I would love Renee. There's lots of things, and part of why I liked Moneyball was it showed you the executive angle of this. Yeah. I would love to be a fly on the wall when Estevez's, scouting meeting, Dombrowski hits the bat signal internally, and everybody up to my office. All right, I need the analytical breakdown. I need my scout on the phone that's watched him pitch lately. I need the spring training reports. I need his I want to see that collaborative meeting where it's like, okay, everybody's in agreement that this is a hefty price with Clausen and Aldegari, but we're willing to pay it. Okay, cool. I would love to watch that go down. Like, I think that's
awesome.
And
like Jim mentioned, the biggest thing that every coach is doing, every staff has guys that are, or women, they've got people that are built into their staff that their role is strictly to follow everyone else. Like, your role is recruiting. You are locked in. You've got all the stats, all the updates, all the injuries, what's going on in their personal life, and just keeping track of all that. And I saw it on the college side on obviously a way, way, way smaller level in college coaching, but it is crazy because you have so much that you have to constantly be paying attention to. And then in baseball, it's also international.
There's so many players.
There's so many players to keep an eye on. So, I would love to see what those conversations are like. It just seems like
Frank Barber says, so basically a Hard Knocks for baseball. Basically. Yeah, I think the most fascinating Hard Knocks in a long time is the one they did this offseason with Joe Shane and the Giants, where you got to see the executive Hard Knocks angle. Elephant in the Room says, I would love to have been there when they were discussing Hayes as an everyday player. And that's another aspect of this, right? Estevez, is Rob Thompson in that meeting where they go, hey, if we're going to pay this price, is he going to be your closer, or how do you see this working? Same thing with Hayes. Hey, we're thinking about trading Sir Anthony for Hayes. Can you come up here real quick? Because we think statistically, and what we've seen in our video breakdown, that he's an everyday left fielder. Do you feel that way? I'd love to just see that kind of, because baseball almost more than the others is there's just so many moving pieces and parts and players, like you just said, the international, the minor league kids, the 40-man roster, and who's going to get traded. And there's so many fascinating parts. I would love to see that show.
I know. And I imagine there's lots of bulletin boards and papers all over and notes and writing and, oh my gosh. Yeah. I can only imagine. That being said though, today we've got more baseball, guys. We can jump right into the new series. Phillies taking on the Yankees, who are sitting second in the AL East with a 62-45 record. The Yankees coming in just picked up Jazz Chisholm Jr. He made his debut Sunday. That he got to make the debut after getting traded from the Marlins. And here's what the matchup is ahead. We've got Zach Wheeler on the mound today against Luis Gil. Aaron Nola against Garrett Cole on Tuesday. And
who's that guy? The guy that's been struggling lately? Yeah. Garrett Cole.
Christopher Sanchez versus Nestor Cortez in Wednesday's 12:35 start.
Nestor the molester.
This is an exciting time because Zach Wheeler back on the mound for today. Hopefully this is another game he can go deep into his pitching. Zach Wheeler comes in with a 10-4 record. He's got a 2.55 ERA, 133 strikeouts. Luis has a 10-5 record, a 3.10 ERA, and 124 strikeouts. And it's a good matchup, a great pitching series, honestly, that we should be seeing. Looking at Zach specifically, he's made 4 starts against the Yankees in his career. He's 1-1 with a 5.91 ERA and 21 1/3 innings pitched against the Yankees. But he is coming off a nice 7 shutout innings, of course, in his last outing against the Twins. So hopefully he can continue from Tuesday's performance against the Yankees tonight and continue to rock and roll, get this group going.
Yeah, Wheeler looked great last time out. Lisa said go get some runs for him. Absolutely. It feels like the offense is close to, I know there wasn't any runs produced outside a home run, but it does feel like, this has been a sustained slump for the Stars. Bryce Harper came out, took some accountability after the game the other night and basically said, us, the Stars, have to step up and get us out of this. So I do think they're close to busting through. The Yankees are slumping, and Garrett Cole got shelled by the Mets last time out. He hasn't been traditional Garrett Cole since returning from his UCL scare. So this is definitely an obtainable and winnable series. So looking forward to that. It would be great to go out there and get the slump buster versus the Yankees. And you got your horses on the mound to do so. So go get it done. No excuses. Play like a champion.
Yeah, exactly. And the Yankees, to talk about that slump, they have won just 2 series in their last 12. They've been struggling to win. And they also, against Luis Gil, who's allowed 1 run, pitched at least 5 innings in each of his past 3 starts, and gave up 1 run and 4 hits in his recent outing against the Mets on Tuesday. Yeah, it is time for the offense to help. As much as we talk about the bullpen and starting pitching, ultimately, these guys can only do so much because your bullpen's not scoring runs for you. Neither are your starting pitchers. So the Phillies have to give that run support and make sure that they can provide their pitchers an opportunity to take the mound up 3 runs, 4 runs, and then maintain that and keep that going. We've seen a lot recently from the Phillies where they have an inning, first inning, 6th inning, whatever, 1 inning each game where they score a lot of runs, and that's pretty much it. Let's continue scoring as the game progresses. Don't have one strong inning and that be the only time the offense comes alive. So
yeah, and Mr. Sandman says in the chat, it's hard to get excited for the regular season baseball when you already know they're going to the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, there is some truth to that. I think, come September when you want to see things like start rounding into form and all the wrinkles ironed out, like things will pick up again. And then, we have a red October on our doorstep. It's pretty much guaranteed to happen. So yeah, I get that. There's probably a little bit of malaise felt by the players too, not excuse making, just reality, human nature. When you have a 10-game lead and, it's the dog days of the season, it's not like they don't want to win, but there's probably just a little bit of a malaise that's set over. So, Mr. Sandman, I think it's a fair point. And to a degree, I bet the players feel that to a point,
Yeah, it is a lot easier to stay motivated when you're chasing.
Sure.
Versus when you're in a very good league.
Oh, no, the Mets are 2 on our tail, like all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Braves and Mets are like a game and a half apart. Like the Phillies are 8.5 games ahead of the Braves. So when you have that nice lead and cushion, it is easy to get complacent. But hopefully today, as we look ahead, this is a chance for the Phillies to reset. And as Seth is saying, good thing our malaise is being used. Good thing our hosts never give in to malaise, but bring it every day. Yeah, we're here every day. And tomorrow we will be at Murphy's
I'm still thinking about that burger.
I know. I'm super excited. I had to rock the shirt. Don't forget, tomorrow we are not at 11 a.m. We're actually going to be live at 5 p.m. for our MLB Trade Deadline live show. Hang with us at Billy Murphy's Irish Saloon. We're going to be giving away some Phillies tickets, other prizes that you guys can win. It is free to show up, and you can walk away with some great prizes, including those tickets and giveaways, as well as we've got Miller Lite specials, and you get a chance to hang with us and look your favorite picture. Jamie with the chins.
Frank Barber said, let's see the picture. There it is.
So the pig.
Yes, that illegal double chin of mine. It's photoshopped. It's fake.
Yeah, it's not real. He doesn't have a double chin in real life. But you got to find that out yourself.
Yeah.
Figure that out yourself when you come hang with us at Billy Murphy's to see, does Jamie really have a double chin or not?
Yeah.
So that being said, thank you all so much for hanging with us. Oh, my Lord. Jim Salisbury, thank you for joining us to weigh in with some great insight. For Tyler, for Jamie, for Jim, myself, Renee, have an awesome Monday. Let's go Phillies. Let's win game 1 of a series. Starts tonight. Win game 1, and I think it all changes from there. All right, we will see you all very shortly for our MLB Trade Deadline show, 5 p.m. tomorrow. Hope to see you in person. And let's go Phillies. See you next time, guys.
See ya.